Today I want to talk to you about why we stopped using Instagram ads after spending about $50,000 on it and we killed our campaign. My name is Jason Nyback. I spent roughly invest about $1 million per year on Facebook ads. Been doing this for a really long time on how to get coaching clients, okay? And so what we did is we tested Instagram, all right? Instagram ads, right? Now, as you probably know, or maybe you don't know, Instagram ads is in the Facebook ads manager. You check a box and do a few other things and you can run your ads on Instagram. And a lot of people will commonly say to us, my audience is on Instagram. They're not on Facebook, okay? And then they'll be like, I just want to run ads on Instagram. I don't want to run ads on Facebook. I can tell, I got 10, 20,000 people on Instagram. My people are on Instagram. And we will usually push people to do Facebook ads, not Instagram ads. So what we did is we did a test, and we tested, like I said, about $50,000. And what did we find? Two things, okay? Our cost per webinar registration was about half the cost of Facebook, okay? Half. So from that perspective, you would think, well, if your cost per lead, cost to get an email address, is half of what it is on Facebook, then it sounds like to me to be twice as profitable as Facebook ads. That's the problem. See, most coaches are focused on cheap leads, and they think cheap leads is going to get qualified, coaching clients. Well, luckily we track everything, okay? And our cost per client was about 4 times what Facebook was. How does that work out? Okay, think about that for a second. Cost per email address was half, but inevitably the cost to get a client was 4 times higher than Facebook, okay? Here's why. I'm going to explain it to you. The reason why is this. When somebody signs up on Facebook, Facebook basically gets all their information from them, as much as they're willing to give them. Like some people give their gender, right? Those are basic things they ask, which are important. Usually their age, usually their location, right? A lot of times their school, like if they got a bachelor's degree or master's or whatever, occupation, all these kinds of things go into Facebook. And then guess what Facebook has? Facebook has years of data on most people, okay? Most people on Facebook who are, say, 35 above have been on Facebook for probably 10 years at least. And Facebook is keeping that data. They're tracking every time you click on an ad, every time you like a post, all this stuff's getting logged, right? We don't know behind the scenes of it all, but we know Facebook is constantly refining the data. Google does this too. Why do you think a number of years ago, you might remember, Google consolidated everything where it's basically one login for YouTube, one login for AdWords, one login for Gmail, all this kind of stuff, right? Consolidated it all. It makes it easier for them to profile somebody. So then their advertisers can have an easier time finding the targets, right? And it's to everybody's advantage that Facebook does this, okay? Because the better Facebook gets at showing relevant ads, the more people are okay with clicking on those ads, right? It only makes sense. You might have remembered the old days of like Yahoo and the early days of the internet. It was just like these ads flashing everywhere. What happened? They went downhill from there, and Yahoo's just a piece of internet history for the most part. I mean, they're still around, but they're not who they were, right? Also, remember, they tried buying Facebook or Google for, I think it was reportedly $10 million, and Google turned them down, rightfully so. At any rate, my whole point in this is Facebook wants to show the most relevant ads possible because their business model relies on getting people to come back to Facebook all the time, every couple hours, come back. And if the ads are relevant, they'll do that. Okay, so they're holding all that data and building it. So the problem with Instagram is Instagram's not, okay? They do to some degree, but the problem with Instagram is from the very start of it, when somebody sets up a profile on Instagram, they're not taking a lot of information, are they? They're not really getting a lot. They do use some hashtag stuff, but still, it's nothing compared to the data Facebook collects, right? And you got to remember, it compounds on Facebook because Facebook's collecting data on you and what you're, or me and what I'm clicking on. I have a strong profile. I've been on there forever. And then the people who I click on their stuff, they have a strong profile and stuff, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds. Where Instagram really doesn't, okay? And I think, in my opinion, that's why it didn't work. So what we did, I'll just explain to you what we've done on Instagram. We went all out. What a lot of people will do is they will target people on Instagram, Instagram ads based on interest groups, okay? And in my opinion and experience, that's a complete disaster on Instagram because you're targeting people who are interested in, say, weight loss. Well, like, my goodness, like, if that's the only qualifier, that you're dealing with potentially 100 million people, right? So how are you going to refine that audience? And the audience isn't strong enough. So what did we do? Okay, here's how we were able to go into Instagram and find our audience. There's this thing called lookalike audiences, okay? And so one of our best audiences that we use is a audience that looks like people who book calls with us. We've had thousands of calls booked over the years. I mean, I've been doing this since 2003 and in 2005 full time. And I got into the coaching into things about 2007. So it's been a long time. Got a lot of calls booked, okay? Thousands. And so we take those emails and you upload them to Facebook, and Facebook creates a custom audience. It creates an audience of all those people, and they match their email to Facebook users and goes, all right, you gave us an audience of 2,000 people, hypothetically. We found 1,500 users with that email address on Facebook. So now you've got this audience of 1,500 people. Now, do we run an audience of those 1,500 people? Absolutely not, because they've already booked a call, okay? So why would we rerun ads to them? So then we hit the button that says create a lookalike audience, and Facebook finds about 3 million people who look like those people, okay? Roughly-ish, something like that. And now that's a super strong audience of people who look like people who booked a call with us. Good. So then what we do is we target, we just use Instagram and then tell Instagram to go into Instagram, find the people who look like the people who booked a call with us, all right? And still they were not able to get the quality level that they did on Facebook. So what is the key learning from all this? What is the plan? What is the strategy? And is there an audience on Instagram that actually works? I think there is, and I'm going to tell you about it. So what I would suggest you do, in my experience, in our experience, is you always want to start on Facebook, okay? This whole business of, well, you don't understand, my people are on Instagram. Look, if you're in any sort of market, like let's say you're a life coach and you're helping people with mindset stuff and you're targeting business professionals, okay? That's great, you're on Instagram, but your audience is massive, okay? And they are on Facebook, okay? There's enough of them on Facebook that you should start there, in my opinion, okay? Because again, like for all the reasons I just explained, the targeting is a million times better. The qualification level is so much higher, and quite frankly, it's just so much better, all right? And then what we suggest is start on Facebook, make it work on the news feed, right? You want to make it work on the news feed. Because again, if you're trying to get 10 clients a month, you don't need to reach 30 million people, okay? You don't need that many people seeing your ads. Okay, so start on Facebook is where I would go and what we always recommend. Because it's like for all the reasons I said. Then once your pixel gets enough data, what does that mean? So remember, what we do anyways is there's a couple ways you can do this, right? You can tell Facebook to find people who look like the people who are clicking on your ad, okay? So you can run an ad, say, Facebook, find people who look like the people who click on my ad. It's a little more complicated than that, but they will. They'll go find those people. Or, and then your pixel will track those. Or you can tell Facebook to find people who look like the people who registered for my webinar. So I register for your webinar, Facebook pixels me and tracks me with their AI and says, all right, in your audience of 1 million people, let's find more people. Let's run your ad to the more people who look like Jason. All right. And so then they're going to wedge it into there of that audience of about 1 million. And they're going to run your ad to roughly about 1% of the people. And every time somebody else registers, they're going to be like, okay, a little more people, let's refine it a little more, a little more, a little more. And that's how the pixel works, okay? And so once your pixel gets a lot of data, and remember, you've got a good audience, a lookalike audience or something like that, then I would suggest trying Instagram and see how it works. But until then, if your funnel's not validated, and if you've just got like a hunch, and you're like, well, I think my people are on Instagram because I got 20,000 followers on Instagram, good for you. I mean, if your stuff's set up and all that, you can target the followers and lookalikes and all that of your followers. But I'll tell you what, I would keep it simple. All right, so now before we get to the audience that actually I've found works on Instagram, there's an audience, I'm going to tell it to you. Here's what I need you to do. Two things. I need you to subscribe somewhere around here so I can keep sending you these videos. And number two, I need you to like this video so that it goes out a little more and more people can see it. Now, have you done that? Great. Here's the audience that really does. Again, you got to test it. I don't like to say it will work because I don't know your situation. Remarketing, retargeting. Okay, so how does retargeting on Instagram work? Well, look, if people are let's say you've got a webinar and you get a whole bunch of people hit your registration page and they don't register, right? Let's say you get 100 people who register or who hit your page and only 20 register. Pretty good, right? Just 20%. 80 don't. Now we're gonna say at scale, you had 10,000 people go to your registration page, only 2,000 registered. That's like 8,000 people who didn't give you their name and email. What do we do with all those? Well, if you're using the Facebook pixel, right, it's tracking that. Facebook's tracking those people. Well, guess what? Now that's an audience of 8,000. They've already seen your ad. They've already connected with you. They're pretty qualified, right? They didn't register, but they sort of raised their hand and said, I like your ad enough to click on it, okay? That audience is called a remarketing or a retargeting audience. In this case, about 8,000 people. You can run an ad to that group on Instagram. And we've found that actually works really well because it's a small audience. It's defined. They've already connected with you. They have some awareness of you. You can't spend a ton of money on it because if you're only reaching, like, say, in that example, 8,000 people, you don't want to spend a ton of money, a couple bucks a day, or it'll just blow the thing right up, right? They'll see it too many times and it'll be gone. But you want to, that's an audience, okay? And it's a very common audience. Like when you go to Amazon, you look up shoes, and all of a sudden you go to Facebook, and now there's shoe ads all over Facebook. You're like, how'd that happen, right? It's called remarketing, okay? So that's something to think about. Hope this helps, and I hope you can see why we don't like running ads on Instagram, and we like Facebook better. All right, hope this helps. Click subscribe. Love to hear your comments, and click the like button. We'll see you on the next video.